I'm an expert in criminology and law with 8 years of experience. I'm here to provide you with interesting insights from this field and create a space where both enthusiasts and newcomers can learn and engage. Let's focus on serial killers today. Serial killers can be differentiated based on various aspects and variables. One of the most well-known differentiations is the typology of killers based on all available evidence at the crime scene, categorizing them into organized and disorganized killers. In this video, we will focus on the psychology of disorganized killers. A disorganized killer is often defined as an antisocial psychopath. They are usually nonverbal individuals with uncertain communication skills and low verbal abilities. They often live alone, and if they have a sexual life, it tends to involve short-term relationships. They are often sexually inexperienced. They are not very skilled and have difficulty finding and maintaining employment. They are untidy, and appearance is not an important value for them. They drive an older car or a van. From case studies, we can find instances where such individuals worked in mines or large factories. They are not very socially friendly, insecure, and lack self-confidence. Sometimes they may seek out cults. They are the kind of perpetrators about whom neighbors and colleagues immediately say, this person, well, they were a bit strange, a bit irritable, but I didn't really know them." Their acts are impulsive, and they target visibly weaker and submissive victims. It is relatively common for the perpetrator to know the victim. They strike swiftly without regard for the crime scene location. They are not interested in the victim's emotions and do not communicate with them during the act. The tools of torture and death are usually determined by the circumstances of the crime scene, such as manual strangulation or beating with a stone. Rape and torture usually occur before the victim's death. They leave the body at the scene without a significant need to conceal it, and they do not concern themselves with traces and evidence. They are not particularly interested in the media or the progress of the investigation. Instead, they may revisit the crime scene to relive their dominance and satisfaction. Regarding the psychological profile of their personality, disorganized killers have an average IQ of 92. They usually have a basic education or an unfinished high school education. They are usually inconspicuous or not very trustworthy. In terms of childhood, their father is rarely present or completely absent. The father did not have stable employment. This type of killer may have been a victim of psychological and emotional abuse during childhood. Often there are conflicting and volatile family relationships, behavioral profile, adaptability, and relationships. They are socially insecure, manual labor is challenging for them, they struggle to find stable employment, they live alone, avoid contact, and show no interest in more serious relationships. Interests and habits. They have minimal interest in the media, usually poor hygiene habits, often untidy and incapable of cleaning. They live and work near the crime scene. They typically use an old and neglected car or van. They usually have a hiding place at home. Modus operandi. They do not plan and act impulsively. They are more active at night, driven by sudden and impulsive desires for violence. They usually imagine their victim without engaging in conversation or interaction. They often feel the need to return to the crime scene to relive the act in their memories. They generally show little interest in their crimes being covered in the media and exhibit little interest in the police. It may happen that they contact the victim's family after the death to provoke or show false remorse. Sometimes they are inclined towards self-help programs or cults. Regarding the victims they usually target, disorganized serial killers generally prefer submissive victims. Sometimes they attack someone they know, while other times the attack is completely spontaneous on an unknown person. Their victim typology tends to be diverse. As for the crime scene, they do not clean up and leave everything in place after the act. The weapon is usually found at the crime scene, typically the location of the assault. The victim's body is usually found at the crime scene, exhibiting signs of violence to the face and head. One well-known example of a disorganized serial killer is David Berkowitz, also known as Son of Sam. Samuel David Berkowitz, famously known as Son of Sam, was an infamous serial killer who terrorized New York City in the 1970s. His crimes were characterized by impulsiveness and disorganization. Berkowitz targeted random victims and utilized firearms during his attacks. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, gained notoriety for his brutal murders and acts of cannibalism in the 1980s and 1990s. Dahmer's crimes exhibited a disorganized and chaotic pattern. He primarily targeted male victims, often from marginalized communities. His modus operandi involved luring individuals to his apartment, where he engaged in acts of torture, murder, dismemberment, and necrophilia. Both Berkowitz and Dahmer exemplify the characteristics associated with disorganized serial killers. They lacked a coherent plan or a specific victim selection process. Instead, their crimes were driven by impulsive urges and immediate opportunities. These killers often acted upon their violent fantasies without careful consideration or premeditation. Berkowitz and Dahmer shared common traits typically found in disorganized offenders. They experienced social isolation, struggled to maintain relationships, and faced difficulties in establishing stability in their lives. Berkowitz's feelings of alienation and low self-esteem contributed to his violent acts, while Dahmer's deep-rooted psychological issues and fascination with control and dominance fueled his sadistic behavior. In the upcoming videos, we will delve deeper into the psychology of organized serial killers. We will explore their intriguing characteristics and behaviors. Additionally, we will analyze both well-known and lesser-known yet equally fascinating serial killers. This channel also covers unresolved deaths and mysteries surrounding them. If you're interested in the field of criminology, I encourage you to subscribe and support the channel. Stay tuned for captivating discussions, expert analysis, and thought-provoking content. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and together let's unravel the secrets of the criminal mind.